A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to bring you reviews for two new Atari 50 branded products from my arcade. We looked at both the Micro Player Pro as well as the Pocket Player Pro. Aside from the obvious hardware differences, those two models offer pretty much the same thing. The same Atari games, the same bonus games, even the same screen. However, for every Micro and Pocket unit that my arcade released this year, they also offered a third little brother to those, the Nano Player Pro. Now, while this is not only smaller, it also has a different joystick, different buttons, different screen, and it's $10 less and includes fewer games. But could this cheaper option be better for you? Let's find out right after this.
This video supported in part by...
Playing VR, I tend to sweat. It gives me an edge. So King of Nerds happens to give me an edge too. Let King of Nerds give you the edge. Bye, King of Nerds.
Hey there, welcome back to Gen X Grown Up. I'm John and I am a Gen X Grown Up. I want to thank you for clicking on this video. I've been very much looking forward to checking out the Atari 50 Nano Player Pro for several reasons. First, I already had the Micro and the Pocket and I saw that experience, and I wanted to see what this third option offered because in a lot of ways it's the most different of the three. As I mentioned, smaller screen, different joystick, different buttons, but most notably because it's a budget version of those other models, clocking in with a $10 lower MSRP than those. What are the compromises, if any, that are made? And might this be a better option? I mean, that's exactly what I want to know. As we look through this, of course, links in the description to all of the new 2023 little tiny arcades you can check out if they might be right for you. So let's get to the table and crack open this new Nano Player Pro. Now, of course, in this video, I'm going to be focusing on the Nano Player, but before I get it open, I think it's interesting to look at just how similar they would appear on a shelf if someone is just browsing, or if you don't have them side by side. They're just almost identical at a glance. I mean, they're clearly labeled Nano and Micro, it says right there, but it would be very easy for somebody to walk into a store and go, oh, well, I grabbed the thing you said, and it looks so very similar. Now, as we get into it and we dig deeper, it's definitely going to be the case that we're going to find there are way more differences, maybe, than you might have expected just at face value, including how you power it, the number of games in it, what is featured on it, how that screen is, how the joystick is. There are plenty of differences. So throughout this video, I will be bringing this guy up to compare it. But for now, let's focus on the Nano Player, and let's start with a quick look at what is featured on the packaging. Now, just like with his big brother, the Micro, the Nano's packaging highlights 6 games that you'll find inside of here. And I continue to find this questionable that you would highlight arcade games that weren't natively on the 2600 until later ported. Pong doesn't even appear, of course it's Video Olympics, we know, but most of them use either a trackball or a paddle or spinner, and don't use the native controls that you have here. I don't know why you wouldn't call out things like Yar's Revenge and call out things like Adventure, 2600 games that are going to shine here as opposed to the arcade ports. I mean, Asteroids is a notable example. It's actually great, but you see what I mean. It's just, I've always thought that's odd what you highlight here, but there is what it is. Now, in addition to its reduced size, the Nano also has a reduced game count. The Micro had 100 games, the Nano has only 75. And I seem to recall that the Micro and the Pocket Player had 77 2600 games, which I thought was an Easter egg since it came out in 77. So you would think that maybe this means this will be 75 2600 games. Nay, nay, nay. As we'll learn around here on the back. Look, we have the same highlighted games that we saw on the Micro Player. However, look at this. 65 legendary 2600 games, which means there are 10 bonus games that aren't 2600 games. If you had 77 games to go in the Micro, why only put 65? I guess it's to make the Micro more attractive or whatever, but again, it's an odd decision. A lot of weird decisions on the packaging and what is included in these games. Anyway, moving on. You flip this guy open, we just learned little things like how to power it USB-C. It uses AAA batteries, not AA batteries, but uses 4 of them, and the same little details about what is in the package and some of the highlighted features. And though we can get a pretty good look at the hardware from inside the packaging in this clear case, let's go ahead and get this Nano Player Pro cut open and check out the contents and how it plays. Once inside, we have our little Nano Player Pro, and then we have some instructions. We never care about those. Those are garbage. trash. And then we have this little catalog, and this in fact is the older catalog. Look, it has the old pocket players. But I do like the checklist nature of this new catalog that they've got, and sometimes it's not even in the catalog. I've got to draw my own pictures. But the Atari Nano player is most certainly featured here, so I'm going to go ahead and mark it off as collected. And then we turn our attention to the little Nano player itself. Now you might be asking, why is the camera zoomed so far out? Well, because before we dive into this, I want to show you a comparison again with this one. I didn't remember just how much smaller the Nano is. And remember, for a short time they had a Pico, even smaller than this. This is a full 2 inches shorter than the micro player. And the screen is, I think it's about a half an inch smaller. It's not that much smaller of a screen, though it's a different screen. Now you can definitely go and look at the full review I did of the micro player if you want a full breakdown of what's here compared to what's here. I'm going to focus again on the Nano, but it's important to understand, look, when you save that $10, how much different is it? Substantially. Now maybe you're looking for something smaller. Maybe you want a Christmas tree ornament-sized player, in which case this is perfect. Well, the Pico is even better for that, but they're not making those. Point being, I wanted to show them side by side to just get an idea of how much different the two are. Now, different controls, we know, different screen a little bit. Styling in general is the same. Similar buttons, other in a different location and layout. So let's then focus on our little Nano player and take a tour of its hardware. Starting here at the top, we have a marquee with the Atari 50 logo. This is non-illuminated. And then we have this bezel. Now the bezel is much reduced from the micro. I think I said it was a ½ inch smaller. The screen is only like a ¼ inch smaller. This is a 2.4 inch screen. So what they did is they reduced the bezel, and you actually have a much greater screen to body ratio than you did on the micro, even though it's a smaller screen overall. So there's less wasted space around the screen. Now down below that screen you have the control deck. Again, much smaller because it's not the micro player any longer. So you have a home, select, and start button. The joystick, while still all decorated very much like the 2600, you have that the dashed orange ring like you'd have on the CX40. You have the grill work that would be on top of the unit. This joystick, however, is not that redesigned aluminum shaft bat top joystick. Instead, we have this little single piece ball top joystick. The buttons as well, still an orange and yellow button for A and B. However, interestingly, the buttons that are on the micro are a concave button, whereas this is a slightly flat or maybe even convex, like it's a little bit raised, like a little bit of a dome to it. So it's a matter of preference, but it's interesting that they would pick two entirely different button designs for effectively a smaller version of the unit. And the buttons themselves don't feel much smaller necessarily, just a bit closer together. And then down here on this little flat part that would be the knee board on any other arcade machine, they've totally done away with the little coin door that used to be here. It's just a sticker now. The left difficulty switch is here. A TV type switch button is here, and the power on off has moved to the front compared to the back on micros. Around back, you have a feature that's not on the larger micro. If you'd like to hook this to your backpack or something, there's a little pass-through line for a lanyard or a loop, so you can hang that on your bag or your luggage or whatever if you want to carry it around that way. Or as I said, hang it on your Christmas tree. There's a place there. Here's your rear-firing speaker. Just below that is the 4 AAA battery door. And then below that, we have the volume up and down buttons and the USB-C power in port. Now what's missing here that's on all the other Pros, and I'm guessing missing from all the Nanos, that variable brightness button. So that screen is going to be the brightness it is, and you won't have that ability here on the Nano. Well, enough lollygagging. It's time to get this fake Missile Command screenshot off of our screen. Load this guy up with 4 AAA batteries so we can power it up and give it a playtest. As I'm throwing these batteries in, of course, I'm going to take just a second to remind you to check out the GenXGrownUp merch store over at genxgrownup.com/merch. We have t-shirt designs that could be GenXGrownUp logos, of course, but there's so much more. Whether you're into Atari or other video games or nostalgia or movies or TV, we have all sorts of designs for stickers and shirts and hats and all that sort of stuff. And every dollar you spend goes to support independent content creation just like this, and they're always having a sale, so with the holidays coming up, might be a great shopping option. All right, looks like the batteries are in. Let's get back to it and power this Nano on. There's our arcade. There's our little Nano player, or some player. Look like a micro player in there. All right, featured games and bonus games are what we have available, of course. So let's start by looking at the featured games. This is the Atari games. Yeah, same interface that we saw on the Pocket Player and on the Micro Player. But, as we're going to note, 65 games, I guess. There's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 65. Yep.
And if I go back to bonus, should be just 10 games in here. Yep, so just a subset of games. So there's every game included. Now, zooming out a second, before I get too far into playing, I want to show you what I found in terms of how I need to play this game based on its size. Normally, when I review a unit like this, I would secure it on the table with some little rubber pads so it doesn't slide around, and I would play it like this. Well, two problems there, the least of which is that my hands are a bit in the way to show you the screen. The more important one is, like, my hands just can't do that right. Like, I can't get to the A and the B button, that I need them both necessarily, but holding that little joystick nub, I'm sliding this thing around. So what I'm finding is the way I'm going to play this is almost hold it like I would like a Nintendo, like a flat D-pad you would have for the NES, the way you kind of hold that square. So I'm holding this like it's a controller, and the rest of it is resting kind of on my fingers, and this is the way that I have found actually makes this comfortable to play. So this is the way I'll be holding it. So if the screen shakes a little bit, my apologies for that, but it's not going to be secured to the table. So let's talk about the featured games then. So the same view again, where we have like a screenshot of the game in the background. I noticed that we have Adventure 2 and we have Fast Eddie in there, so it's not all just pure Atari-made Atari games, but it is, ooh, there's a double tap there. My imagination, I feel like when I moved left and right, I got a double tap. Maybe not. Maybe it's just my fat finger. Okay. Anyway, so let's, oh, there was another one, yeah. Anyway, we always got to look at Adventure. That's the first thing we're going to check out. So we hit the A button. Yeah, and oh, there we go. So now I can hit the difficulty. You can see down here in the lower left, it's changing easy, hard. There is no, of course, right difficulty switch. Nothing we can do about that. We do have a color black and white switch. That's cool, TV type. So we have that feature included. So yeah, let's go ahead and hit start. Yeah. So I'm zoomed in and focused on this screen, and so I would say it's fair to say that it doesn't look as grainy or pixely as I'm seeing here and through the camera's eye. It just kind of smooths out to your eye, I think. But it's, I mean, it's, look, we're playing Adventure. It's on this little screen. Little screen seems fine. We can talk about like view angles. We can see it starts to fade out pretty quickly that way. This way starts to, it looks pretty good actually to the left. So this screen was probably meant to be vertically used. I already can tell you I don't like this little nub joystick as much as I like the new bat top joystick. It's, I find that I have trouble going directly up and down. It kind of wants to nudge and just kind of, okay, from here I want to go due east. Cool, I'm just kind of holding it. Seems to be fine. We'll turn. Oh, and you can't like, you pretty much have to put your thumb right on the ball, because if you're leaning, you can't like angle it down. You got to kind of pull it down. Yeah, especially for the size, this joystick, I would say, is pretty far from ideal. Adventure 2. Let's check some Asteroids, which a great game. Let's see how it looks here. And, first of all, speaker's nice and loud. I feel like the pitch is a little bit off, maybe a little low even. Could be my imagination. Play is smooth though. No complaints about that. Now I got to do bowling because it's, yeah, just because it's bowling is the primary reason. Go, 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 go! Oh, come on, get the spare. Get the spare. I actually just switched to USB power. If you saw any screen flickering a second ago, I'm going to blame those AAA batteries. Those must be weak. Yeah, he's excited. Bowling, boxing, yeah, Canyon Bomber, Dodge 'em, Double Dunk, Circus Atari. Yeah, we got Hangman, Gravatar, some old and some new stuff. Haunted House, Home Run, of course. Let's take a look at Missile Command. They love to promote that one because it's on the fake screenshot. Yeah, let's you know what? Let's get the Rob Full-Op Easter egg just for fun. Definitely sounds slow to me. Definitely sounds, the pitch is a little slow. If you can hear it, you hear it. If it bothers you, it bothers you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's fine. But to my ear, it sounds a little off pitch. And here's our Easter egg. Boom! Hey there, Rob. Good job. Let's try to play the game properly and see how that goes. You can see that little bit of screen tearing that we're accustomed to. Now this is like, yeah, level 13 is like pro level. I'm not gonna get far. Have I hit anything yet? I don't think so. No, 0 points. Good job, John. There, I got one thing. Yeah. That's why Rob's Easter egg is on this level. It's easy to get 0 points. That's no trouble. Night Driver, Off the Wall, Pong. There's Video Olympics, of course. We can play Pong. Let's look at Breakout, because I like to test and see how this works in terms of, look, that was supposed to be a paddle. So let's give this a try and see how the left and right does. It feels like a little acceleration. Oh, but like it could be worse. It's not bad. The ball speeds up, and yeah, obviously I overshot the ball. Ball's going to speed up, and I'm going to miss it a lot. It's a fun distraction, right? You're not going to want to play most games on here for the fun of, playing your best game. You want to say, oh, look, you want to see what Breakout looked like? Yeah, you're probably not going to enjoy. This is not the best way to enjoy your games. Let's dig down a little deeper and see. So it's farther. We got some Real Sports, some Roadrunner. Love me some Save Mary. That's coming as a reissued cartridge, or I guess, or an issued cartridge? I think it never was a cartridge. Steeplechase. Oh, some Super Baseball. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's see. I remember this about Super Baseball. You have to wait for these just infinite little animations. They're cute the first time, but yeah, the guy has to walk from the dugout. We get it. But it's nice to have a baseball game that has AI in it. Am I right? Oh, there he goes. There he goes. Oh, I'm thrown out. Yeah, that plays great. We got all the Sword Quest stuff in here. Well, the 3 pertinent Sword Quests. Now, these are worthless without the comic books. You're going to have to look up the comic books online, of course. Tempest, Video Pinball, Warlords, Wizard. So, this is not my imagination. Look, I get the feeling every once in a while the joystick kind of bounces back when I say left or right, and I get like a double tap. Not sure. I mean, even if it doesn't. Either way, I'm not a fan of this tiny little ball-top joystick. A little taller would be nice. I could see it might get in the way of the screen, but yeah, kind of is what it is. So, all right. Get him. Boom. Way to go, Howard. All right, let's take a look at these bonus games. There are only 10 of them, and let's see what we've got. We've got 8 Eyes. We've seen all these before. Bad Street Brawler. All right, that's a decent little NES game, I think. Dash Your Alley, Free Fall. I don't know, Pyramid. Let's play something. Motor City Patrol. Let's just see what this is. Original game source, 1990 by Pico. Makes sense. Did you see that little bit of screen tearing on there? I don't know this game, but I can see how it could be cute. Reminds me of like a original Grand Theft Auto almost. Look at this guy. Am I looking for somebody to arrest? Well, that's certainly not like garbage shovelware. There's like a real game there. My Arcade has done a good job of making these bonus games a little more interesting than, mowing, dog, those crazy things. But, oh, I get to ride on a mech? Oh, look at me. I'm an Ed 209. Whoa! This reminds me of an old Amiga game. I can jump and shoot. Now see, that's kind of cool. I mean, I'm not good at it, but... Can I shoot up? There we go. There, shoot these dragonflies or whatever the heck they are. So we've got our 65 2600 games. We've got our 10 bonus games. It really seems like maybe you should have had all 75 2600 games. The bonus games is nice to pad out, but if you're only going to put 75... So, like, I have nothing against the bonus games. They're actually getting better, but they just seem out of place on a unit that could have fit way more 2600 games. And we know you got them because you put them on the micro. Now, you might be wondering which games are omitted from this that were on the micro. So I'm going to do my homework, and on the screen, I'm going to put the list of what I guess is... I'm guessing it's just omission, probably about 11 or 12 games that didn't make it onto this one that are on the other one, in case one of your favorites is something you're looking for that you expected to see. That being said, I think we have seen what we need to see to make an assessment of this new 2023 My Arcade Nano Player Pro Atari 50th Anniversary.
Did you see what you needed to see? No, I certainly did. The Nano Player Pro is an interesting option, and I like that it exists. But for $10 less, I feel like you're losing so much of what you got for $10 that unless you just need a smaller unit, the compromises probably aren't worth the savings. I found that joystick to not be ideal, and the way I had to hold it with my big hands meant that I had to hold the whole thing in my hand, as you saw, so it wasn't really that comfortable to play necessarily. The buttons were fine, but then there's that pitch issue, and I didn't notice it on the other players. Maybe it was there and I just didn't notice it, but it was very pronounced here. You heard that comparison, and we still had the other problems with this. We still had that screen tearing, even though this is an entirely different screen. Now, the screen tearing wasn't so big of a deal on Atari games, but it was on the bonus games, which brings me to my third or fourth thing, which is I don't even understand why there were bonus games on here. We had 77 Atari games on the Micro and on the Pocket, and if you're gonna put 75 on here, just take 2 away and give me an all Atari Nano, which I think would have actually somehow increased the value here because you'd had 10 more Atari games. All in all, with the compromises and with the lower price and everything, I'm going to consider rating the Nano Player Pro from My Arcade 2.5 tokens out of 5. I think maybe I gave the Micro 3 full tokens, and this might be a 2 token in direct comparison, but there is a value proposition savings. It's $10 cheaper, so you have that going for you. Now, if money is an object for you and that $10 matters, the Nano is a decent option, and it will allow you to reminisce and replay some of these classic Atari games, though you probably won't want to play on it for a long period of time. If you really want to play these games, I think that extra $10 is well invested on one of the other options that will give you a more comfortable experience and more games to enjoy. Now, before I go, just want to make sure to let you know that My Arcade provided this Nano to me free of charge for review, but they had no input over what I would have to say about it. And also remember, down in the description, links to all the new little tiny arcades, the Micros, the Pockets, the Nanos, the Picos, whatever's out there. You can find direct links to shop for the one that's right for you. I'll throw some links over my shoulders here and here to some other coverage I've done of these new players this year. I certainly hope you found something to enjoy in this video, and I cannot wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.